In this episode, I am going to be handing over the mic to Claudette and passing this season of the GMAC podcast over to Claudette.
Gotta get messy and show the world you growing as an artist. And you're free to be yourself. You got a dream, you need to start it. Stick together. Get messy says you're formally invited to a community where you can find people that spark the feel of excitement. Too many art supplies, not enough time. No, it's tougher, so you must find a way to feel some connection. We got a lot of people with the same kind, a great mind. We here for you, a platform so we can hear your views. Time's yours, forget chores. I know you bored of them same rules.
Hi, and welcome to the Get Messy podcast. It may have been a very long time since you've last heard my voice. And the good news, the maybe medium news, bad news, both. Definitely good news is that my voice is not going to happen for much longer because there's going to be a new voice happening. And I am beyond excited to introduce you to the new voice. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you might be seeing our faces and it's not a surprise. But if you're listening, I'm still keeping you in suspense. So I'm very excited to introduce you to Claudette Hasenjager. She is the community encourager at Get Messy, someone who is incredibly, well, besides talented in her art and very talented in nurturing community and bringing artists out of their shell and creating true connection. Besides all of that, she is very gifted at being curious when it comes to other artists and asking great questions. And that is why I'm bringing her into the podcast and why I am handing over the proverbial torch or paintbrush, we could say. And now I've spoken a lot. So Claudette, hi.
Oh, that was a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Caylee. I feel quite special now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to share the next season of episodes with everyone. I know that there is just so much goodness coming.
Yeah. And so if you haven't heard already, Claudette and I have almost the same accent. If you're South African like we are, you'll probably be able to tell the difference. Maybe the further away you are, the more difficult it'll be to tell the difference. But yeah, Claudette's South African too. I've just moved back to South Africa, so I guess I get to call myself a true South African again. And how do you want to pass the torch? I feel like I need to do like a symbolic gesture.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, Caylee. I've got it. Okay. Well, I think that the fact that you sent me my microphone was the symbolic gesture for us to be able to carry on the episodes in that kind of way. It was just a beautiful, exciting gift to have received in the mail, because while I was really nervous about doing a podcast, there was a big part of me that was just so excited about the idea of getting to speak to artists from all around the world and to just dig into their practice, their life in general, and to just be able to chat. And so receiving that microphone opened a whole new door that I was so excited to be able to just jump through with both feet.
Yeah, I think that microphone does work as a symbolic gesture because it's been around the world. And now it's with you. And that's the artists that you have been interviewing. It's different artists, people from very different cultures, different backgrounds, making all sorts of different art. So tell me, what excites you the most about talking to other artists?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I think it's just being able to see how, even though everybody's got a different background, a different practice, a different creative style, we all the same. There's always a common thread that I've been able to find through my chats with different artists. And the things that interest us and that we are curious about tend to be the same. And I think that is so fascinating and really exciting, because sometimes we tend to feel like we're alone or we're strange, especially if we're in a place where there aren't other people making art around us. So being able to hear that there's someone else on the other side of the world who has the same struggles or the same challenges or just the same way of thinking about creativity as you do, I find that really comforting and just so beautiful.
So you kind of feel like it brings us together and there's more
Yes,
similarities and differences?
absolutely. I absolutely think that that is so true. And that's why I think it's really important for us to be able to sort of build a community for ourselves, just to know that there are other people that feel the same way or think the same way. Sometimes they don't, which has been quite interesting. I have also spoken to people where I feel differently, and it's been so fascinating to be able to unpack, why do you feel this way and how can it influence me to maybe question what I'm thinking and feeling, or to just reaffirm that, no, I value your opinion, but after talking to you, I still feel the same way. That also happens. So it's good to have people to sort of just bounce ideas off of. And so I am really excited at thinking about all the listeners that are going to be having us in their studio with them. And I really hope that they are also going to feel as though they're getting an opportunity to question what it is that they are believing, whether it's limiting beliefs or whether it's questions about your creative process. So it could be that you're challenging those thoughts, or it could be that you're just saying, yay, there's someone else out there that gets it.
Mm.
Mhm.
So tell me more about the artists that you're interviewing for the season.
Oh, there are so many, so many. And it's just this wide variety, which has been so exciting, because there's some that are working in art journals, there's some that are working on exhibitions and doing all sorts of fancy things, and there's some that are really sort of classically trained, and then there are others that just jumped into art journaling and discovered this whole world that they didn't know existed. The other thing that's been interesting is to see that they've also have been a wide range of artists who either felt that they were always creative, and then you get those that sort of discovered creativity a little later on in life. So it's just been fascinating to be able to hear all of these different backgrounds and stories on their journey to where they are today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something that excited me when I first started being creative. So you're talking about artists that have always been artists and artists that feel new. I feel like a new artist. I mean, it's been 10 years, so it depends on what your definition of new. Maybe not so new anymore. But I had never really been creative until I started art journaling. And I remember the thing that struck me when I speak to other artists and when I ask them questions, maybe before I felt like art was this capital A art, this thing that's like held above everything else, and it's a gift from God, and you're like touched by an angel, or like you're kissed by an angel, and now you magically have got the ability. But the more artists that I spoke to, the more that I realized art is for everyone, and all artists want you to make art too. And you might think that your questions about art are silly or maybe immature. That's how I felt when I started. Like my number one question was like, what is gesso? Which maybe literally and figuratively is the base for a lot of pages. And I used to feel like that was such a simple question, but then I discovered lots of artists are asking that question. And like you were saying, Claudette, finding out that other artists are asking the same questions, that we've got things that bond us together more than things that make us different, is very powerful. It's powerful to know that no matter what your level of art is, if you're making art, you're an artist, and you can learn from other artists and you can share your knowledge with other artists. And so I love that it just brings us together like this.
Absolutely. And that you just sort of touched on sharing knowledge, right? And it's been fascinating to see how everybody has been so open to, if you ask them, what are the tips that you've got, or what are the tricks that you like to use, or, everybody's so open to sharing those thoughts. And I think that's really special, because sometimes in some parts of, whether it's different industries or maybe in different job roles, people tend to want to keep those things secret because they feel it gives them an edge. But it's been so nice to see how everybody's just so open to wanting to share. I think it's because it excites us, and you know how much meaning and value it's had for you. And so it's not a secret you want to keep. It's something that you want to share because you know the value that it's going to give to the people that are going to be listening to this advice that you're giving.
Exactly. No state secrets here, no gatekeeping over here. We are freaking excited about more art. That's always the goal, is just having more art. And if people are making more art, that is the best. And whether they're doing it exactly the way we want them to do, or like the way we do, or if they're finding another way that helps them make more art, like that's the goal, is the more art.
Exactly. Yep. I totally agree with that. So I'm curious to know, when you were doing your episodes and interviewing everyone, what was the best thing that you enjoyed about doing the recordings?
Wow. I think it comes back to how I felt, maybe at the beginning, I felt like I had less of a leg to stand on because I hadn't made that much art. Or like, as I make more art, the more comfortable I am in the fact that I am a person who makes art. But the idea just that there are no secrets to art. There's no one holding a safe that has all the information about art. Just like, it's free, it's open there, it's there. All you need to do is just take it. And I think that's what I learned from, speaking to artists that I have art crushes on, people that I look up to, people that I could never have imagined talking to, are just talking freely and sharing freely. And everyone just wants you to make more art. Like, there's no one that's trying to stop you or prevent you, or the only person that you have to get over is yourself. And so I think maybe that was my biggest lesson, is like, we have all these people, but the most powerful part of community is that you bring it back towards yourself and your practice. And I mean, in the end, we're all making art alone, even though we've got this like this powerful force of other women that are also journeying with us. Like, at the end of the day, we're sitting there with our journals alone.
Yeah, it's true. But I must say, I think that's one of the things I love about community the most, is that I know maybe it's Tuesday and I am creating alone, but on Wednesday, I'm going to be able to hop onto Zoom and just see my art buddies. And I love the fact that I get to create with people. Even, it might be over a screen, which is different to in person. That is true, but it's the second best thing. So go with that, right? I think there is so much power in creating together in the same space.
Yeah, so let's talk about the ways that we can create together, because if you know that you have a creative community behind you, whether it's through Instagram or through Get Messy or through Zoom, you've got your creative family that's cheering you on at all stages. So we've got that base. How does someone develop a community?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. Well, I think the number one thing that comes to mind is that you've got to stay open, right? You've got to be open to allowing people into your space. I think sometimes we tend to get nervous, especially when I'm thinking like internet wise, but even if you go to an in-person workshop, you might be shy or introverted. And so the idea of meeting people that you don't know is a bit scary. So if you just go in with the idea of, I'm going to be open to having new people come into my life and just see where that takes you, I think that's the number one thing that I would say, is just be who you are, and the people that need to be around you are going to be finding you just because you're there and you're ready.
Yeah, like putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in making space for new things. So I don't think that you're going to be able to have new people if you're not saying to yourself, I'm giving myself permission to be open to having new people come in. So I think it's really good, because they're different, as you were saying, there are different ways that you can find community. So even if it is on Instagram, what a lot of the people that I've spoken to in the episodes mentioned things like doing challenges because of that sense of community. Even if it's people that you've never met before, the fact that you're all together in the same challenge, it's almost like running a marathon, right? Or doing what we have as the Mid-Mile Mile, which is a big swim across an open water dam type thing. The sense of community that happens in those races is just, there's nothing like it. It's almost electric. And so you get the same effect if you just participating in a challenge that everybody else is doing. So I would say that if you are looking to grow your art community and find new art friends and people who can inspire you, I would definitely say that participating in a challenge, even if you don't do every day, right? We've got our daily-ish motto. You don't have to necessarily be doing every day, but just the fact that you are sharing and participating is a great way to find people to create along with.
Yeah, the nice thing about community is that if you show up a little bit, they're going to cheerlead you and boost you to continue doing a little bit until it becomes something quite big. I think also you were speaking about being nervous to come into things. So I'm an introvert. I'm very nervous mostly about social interactions. Since moving, I've been meeting a lot of people and like absolutely terrified of all of it. But the nice thing to know is that most people are a little bit scared. Most people are a little bit nervous and mainly just embarrassingly excited, right? Like just, like very enthusiastic, like to an extent where it's a little bit uncool, but we're all uncool nerds who want to create connection and who want to form a bond. So that was helpful for me. Like I wasn't the only silly billy trying to like excited to meet people. Everyone's excited and everyone is so excited that you're there. Joining a Zoom call or adding your art in the hashtag of a challenge. Everyone's excited that there's new art, that there's someone new showing up, that there are other people who are interested too, because while community is very good at giving back to us showing up gives back to the community, and it's like this beautiful eco cycle like that feeds each other.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important, right? Is you have to show up. Nothing's happening if you're not showing up.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of little showing up. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you're wanting to nurture community for yourself this year, it doesn't have to be big and flashy. It doesn't have to look like going to Italy on a creative retreat and spending $10,000. It can be small, tiny acts of showing up.
Yep. It could be your first post, right? Your first post on Instagram. One of the artists that I talked to mentions what it was like. She still vividly remembers putting out her first post on Instagram and what a big moment that was for her. So whether it's just putting out that first post, or as you were saying, showing up to the Zoom room and making some art with someone, just the fact that you clicked enter that's enough. Everybody is there, happy to see you and happy to see that you took that one step. That's all that's needed, is just that one step.
Yeah, and so we have art dates within Get Messy where we have the Zoom calls, we have 2 guides leading the way. But you're more than welcome to show up to those and say nothing. You're more than welcome to just sit there and make art quietly, see the lay of the land. You're welcome to message the guides ahead of time and say, hey, I'm going to be there. This is my first time. And then they're there to look after you like a mama bear.
Yeah, I think it's really special to have the guides there too, because they are there looking to welcome new people and also to keep those that have been there more often inspired and engaged in their creativity. So it's nice knowing that somebody's there to welcome you if you do decide to take that leap and go to the Zoom room for some time with your creativity.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're sharing a lot of tips for creating and nurturing community for new artists, or maybe people that are new for community. What are some tips for people that have got community and maybe want to dig deeper into community or into using other artists as fuel for their own creative practice?
Oh, I think there's so much to learn from each other, right? I think for me, a lot of the artists that I have spoken to mention that they either feel as though they're in a rut, and I think maybe it's just the time of year that we're in where people are sort of slowing down a bit, or else they have experience of feeling as though creativity is maybe not number one priority at the moment. And so it's been so interesting to hear how everybody's got ideas on how you can regain your creative momentum. And so I think that there's a lot of value in speaking to artists who have got an established practice, because they can help you in those moments where you may be unsure about what the next step should be, or if you're feeling as though you've sort of lost that initial spark and you're not quite sure how to get it back.
Yeah, I like to say that we're all beginners when it comes to the blank page, right? Like
Yes.
every blank page is a blank page for everyone showing up, no matter how much experience you have. You might have a few tools in your box, but it's always fresh. And I think the life of an artist is just repeatedly coming back to your art. That's the only thing that makes the difference between someone who makes one page and someone who makes a library of art journals is coming back. Like, it's not some magical thing where you're magically given the ability to create and create and create. It's when things are tough or when things aren't quite easy, do you come back to your art? Or when things have stopped being tough, do you come back to your art? You know?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting to chat to people and see that there's this push and pull, right? Between, is it time to step away and give it space and sort of let the well fill up naturally by doing things outside of your studio, whether it's going for a walk or, spending more time on other hobbies. So there's that line of thinking, and then there's the other line of thinking that's saying, just do a little bit every day, even if it is sorting out your ephemera or swatching your new watercolors or whatever it is. Small little steps that you can take just to keep that creative spark, even if it's just a little bit of a glow, right? So there's definitely a balance between pushing a little bit so that you keep that momentum and just totally saying, you know what, the studio is closed for 2 weeks and I'm going to do something totally different. So I think it's good to have a bit of both in your life.
I like how you call it a little glow. That's so cute. That makes me happy. It makes me feel all like warm and fuzzy, especially at the moment for both of us. We're in summer, even though it's it's summer, even though it's not for the rest of the world. And so it's barbecue season for us. And so I'm just like thinking about, like when the fire has ended and there's like the little warm embers and you keep them going for the vibes. And every now and then, like you might put some marshmallows on the fire, but you just, like you just keep it going. So like that makes me think, I've got like that feeling when I think about keeping the creative glow going. I know that you're a very big proponent of the fact that being an artist is a way of living. It's not just the art that you're making. And so, the idea that you're an artist when you're living like an artist, you're not necessarily creating, but refilling your artist self.
Yes, absolutely. You couldn't have explained it any better. That is definitely how I feel. Yes, question.
Question is, give me your top 5, or just give me 5, not your top 5. 5 things to keep your glow going.
That is a tough one. Okay. I think moving your body is probably one of my top ones. I definitely feel as though whether it's walking or running or swimming, there's just something about the act of moving your body that helps you to move the energy around in your body. I think to me, it feels like it gets stuck, whether you're sitting or sleeping or whatever. Like you can feel it getting all clogged up. So you need to move your body to get the energy all shaken up again. The other thing that I would say is that it's important to rest, and that's like really rest. Don't, sometimes resting might be for some people, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what I would feel is like maybe, those things that when you do them and at the end you feel even more tired than you did before. I'm like, I love Netflix. I don't want to bash Netflix, but I do think that that's like sometimes not the best way of resting. I don't know if you've ever had a binge weekend and you come off that weekend and you almost feel sick because you're like, that was just lying there doing nothing. So active resting, that's it. I think active resting is important. So whether that is taking yourself out to go and maybe just go for a stroll or read a book outside in the shade, so you've got the trees and the wind blowing, or maybe it's just having a games night with your family or going out and swimming with the kids, whatever it is, but active resting. So that's 2. The third thing I would say is that just doing small things, which is what we were talking about earlier, right? Whether it's sorting out your papers or swatching colors, I think it's important to just do those things that don't feel like you're being creative, but it is actually part of your creative practice. I think that's a good way to trick yourself into finding new ways of creating without even realizing it. There's no pressure, right? You're just moving papers around, but there are little sparks that happen when you're in your studio just messing around. And what connects to that then is cleaning out your space. So I am a huge fan of keeping your studio tidy. So at the end of your creative session, packing it away so that it's ready for you. And then doing like a big clean out at least once a month where you repack your drawers and your shelves and dust and get everything. That for me is a huge thing in keeping my creativity sort of alive and just keeping that glow. It makes me want to go into my studio. So I know that there are people who are like, now I want to go into my studio when it's really messy and everything's all over the place. So I love those challenges where everybody's like, show me how messy your desk is. I get a kick out of being able to show them my desk and everything's like packed straight. Because that's how I, like that is what makes me so happy. And that's the way I prefer to create. So yeah, I think that it's important for people to accept if they are a little different, to be like, it's okay, I am a little different, right? So there was a lot of, in the beginning, I felt a lot of shame around the fact that I wanted my studio to be like perfect, because I felt like everybody was always saying how, oh, the messier, the better. So it was one of those things that I struggled with, because I didn't really want to show people like photos of my studio, because I felt like I wasn't being a real artist because everything was in straight lines. But I think being organized is a big part of keeping that momentum going. So I've been talking for a really long time, and I'm only on point number 4, Caylee. So I think but while I'm taking a break and going to number 5, let's give everyone a break from hearing my voice, and you can give us some of your tips.
With slightly different South African accent. Yeah, I mean, I think I feel the same way about all of yours, but I want to talk more about the idea of being like a real artist, because I think people assume that because I named Get Messy, they think that I like being messy, or that being messy is the goal. It's actually, well, firstly, I grew up very afraid of mess, very pedantic. I do not like mess. I like a clean studio. I like my art to be clean. My version of clean, of course. Like my partner might say that I am not clean, but I also struggled with that exact thing. Like, because I'm not able to let loose in the way that other people let loose, I feel like that makes me less of an artist, or that then I'm not a real artist. And I'm only a real artist if I don't know, my floor's covered with paint, if all my clothes are covered with paint, if my hands are painty every day, if I use paint. Where, I mean, that's one of the big benefits of actually speaking to real artists and to real people making art. You realize that there are no rules for being an artist, that the invitation to get messy is to let go and to grow yourself in a way that makes sense to you, and to have your art fit you and not the other way around. Like, we're not going to change our lives to make art. Our art should be changing to fit our lives. So, our studios should be clean if we want them to be clean, or if we want them to be messy, then they can be messy. Maybe I don't want to work with paint, and maybe I only want to work with paper. And guess what? There's an art form for that. That's the whole point of art, is that there are no definitions and there's no way of constricting it, and all these rules that we have grown up with in life, and all these ways that we are taught to behave and to act, especially as women or minority groups, all these things, like art says, screw that, we're going to do something a little bit different. And that's the freedom of art.
Oh, I love that. So it's quite interesting, because I agree with you, right? Everybody is saying like, oh, we can get messy now, and that means like messy. But it's quite interesting, because for me, when I think about that, it's the messy, and we've got a lot of emphasis, right, on embrace the messy middle. And again, I think a lot of people sort of put that to your art, because there is sometimes a stage where it's just like, oh, I don't know where this is going, and it's that really bad part. But I think it's the messy middle of life, because I think for me especially is my art is a way to be able to work through all of like the messiness of life, those emotions and situations and all of that. So it's a place where I can unpack those emotions, those memories, those feelings, those thoughts, and then process it through my art. And so for me, that's what my messy middles become, is it's a space where I can just let it all hang out on the page.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it's like the idea that things don't have to be tied up neatly with a bow, that we can live amongst the not knowing and the trash and the junk and the good and the bad and everything that just um makes up life. I mean, you and I keep
Mm,
saying to each other, don't my life will be sorted out next week. Like it'll be figured out next week and then everything's going to be magic. Um, I
mm,
mean, I often tell myself that with my art, right? I keep telling myself, oh, when my studio is unpacked, then I'm going to make art. Or, oh, if I have this supply, then I'm going to make art.
mm,
But the truth of it is that maybe I don't have the supply. Maybe my studio is still in boxes. Or maybe I have a dining table that, once a day or
mm,
twice a day has to have food on it and have to take my art off. But all these situations, right? Like, how can you make art in the mess of life
mm,
right now? Like, not when things are perfect, because, yeah, well, things aren't going to be perfect. We all know that.
mm.
So, how are we going to create space for art in the mess of life as it is right now?
Yes, absolutely. And one of my favorite things when people introduce themselves in the community, every now and then we'll get someone that goes, I can't believe I put this off for so long, or I finally took the leap and joined the community. I love being able to say, well done on saying yes to yourself and to your creativity, because a lot of people are waiting for that perfect moment, right? When I go on leave, or when I retire, or when I change jobs, or when I manage to find an extra 3 hours in my day magically. And those things don't happen. So when somebody posts and says, I just did it, I jumped in and I said yes, it's so exciting to be able to say, this is a moment to celebrate, because you've actually said, I'm going to just embrace that messiness of life and I'm going to do something for myself.
Yeah, it always feels like it's a statement when we do that, because society and the patriarchy and all these forces are working against us saying yes to ourselves. And, this world that we live in that tells us to stay small, to not try anything, to not make waves, to look after the children, to make the dinner, to not do anything for yourself until you retire. No,
Hmm.
we can do it
Yeah.
now. We can make
Yes.
something now.
In fact, I would take it even further and say that by allowing yourself to say yes to yourself and your creativity makes you a better human. I think that spending time doing stuff for yourself, making art, working through whatever it is that you're feeling, and coming out on the other side and feeling better. You might not have made beautiful art, right? It might have been the trashiest art ever, but how did it make you feel? How did you feel at the end of it? And 9 times out of 10, you feel so much better. And so I think that it then allows you to go out into the world and to be a better sister, a better mother, a better daughter, just because you are feeling better about yourself, because you took the time to do something that nourished your soul.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Gosh. Isn't that like
Yeah.
art journaling is great? Like you get to have all your feelings and then just like let them go on the page. And
Mm.
sometimes they stick around a bit and sometimes they're all out. Um Man, art journaling is best.
It is the best. Yeah. And it's not that it's always heavy, right? Sometimes you're really happy and you just want to like make happy art. It's good. It's so good to just allow yourself to go where it is that you want to go and to find that freedom to explore different aspects of yourself through your creative practice.
Mm.
Yeah, I've a lot of times talking to artists, it's like a rediscovery, right? A connection back to who you were before the world started packing all of these expectations on you. And art allows you to have that rediscovery of yourself.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely how I felt, right? That's how my journey started. So I think it's really powerful. How did my journey start? So in 2018, I had just had my sixth child and homeschooling all of them, like going, we were like in it. We were in it. And we had this woman who was um, like a homeschooling mentor almost. And she said to us, now that you've decided to homeschool your children as mothers, you do not go to the gym, you do not have coffee dates, you do not go out shopping with your friends. You are now a homeschooling mother. So you spend time working out the schedules and homeschooling your children. And like, this is your life. That's all you do. So by the end of 2018, I was feeling like a frazzled chicken. You know those things where they talk about the pigeon who hasn't slept? Like I was beyond pigeon. It was we were half done. It was bad. And so I was thinking I've got to do something for myself because I was so unhappy. It was just this anxiety and frustration and disappointment in life. Like, I mean, I love my children, love them to death, the best things that ever happened. But I just felt like there was nothing left of me. There was nothing left for me to give because I was just empty. So I decided, as one does, I'm going to do a 365-day art challenge. Haven't made art in decades and I'm feeling totally burnt out. So I'm going to do a 365-day challenge. That's the way we're going to go. And did it. I did it. I did every single day. I didn't miss a day. And I was so proud of myself. But in that journey is where I discovered art journaling and Get Messy. So if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am today. And once I discovered the art journaling, it was just a layer of excitement. Like this is what I want to be doing. But then I discovered Get Messy, and it was community and art friends, and it was just like magic. Can you imagine can you see the confetti exploding everywhere? Like, oh yes, I had arrived, and yeah, I haven't looked back. And that's why I've got this passion for sharing the power of creativity with other women, because I know where I was and I don't want anybody to feel that way. There's no reason for anybody to feel that way. So, yeah, it's so good. So, so good. So, if you're thinking about it, if you're just thinking about getting a journal and maybe a small watercolor tray, and you're like, I don't know, what if it's a waste of money? What if I'm wasting my time? The answer is no, you're not wasting your time. And yes, you should get it.
Agree. Just let
Yeah.
yourself do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a lot of guilt. Unfortunately, people do feel a lot of guilt, like, oh, but there's no purpose to it. And I'm not making money with it. And how many hours am I going to be spending doing it? And it could be time that I could be spending with my family, or, there are those feelings. They're very valid feelings that people have. But again, like just taking, even if it's 30 minutes for yourself to be creative, when you come out of those 30 minutes, you're going to have so much more to give the people that are around you. There's just going to be more of you to be able to share with them. So take the time for yourself.
Agree.
So what would you say? What makes art journaling so special?
Art journaling is special because it fits in wherever you're at. So
Mm.
I've got a decade of art journaling behind me now. So I get to, with the benefit of hindsight, I get to see that life has seasons, your art has seasons. So sometimes life is very full, and your art life might look a little bit smaller. Sometimes your life is full and your art life is full. Sometimes they're both quiet. Sometimes you feel like you're in a desert. Like, just knowing that the seasons are going to end, for better and for worse, that if you're feeling if you're feeling in a bad place about your art, that you can do things to make it pass. Sometimes those things, you can like do certain actions and get through it. Sometimes you need to be patient. um,
Mm.
but I think that art journaling fits into all of those seasons, which is magical. So some of the seasons might look like making lots of pages, filling lots of pages. Sometimes it looks like really digging deep and being able to dig deep into yourself. So, like there's the depth and the breadth of art journaling. Sometimes art journaling can look like writing things down. I had a solid year where I was just like written journaling basically, and every now and then like a cute picture or a doodle. And in the beginning, my art was a lot of pictures and like no words. There have been times where I have given to my art and times where my art has given back to me. Times where I've painted just a black page because I was going through something, or times where when I was going through grief in my personal life, I was just like pouring zines out of me. It was just like I wasn't able to talk about my grief anyway except through art journaling. And I don't know, it's just being able to art journaling allows you to be able to meet yourself where you're at and make the art that you need to make and that your heart wants to make. I think that's the magic of art journaling, is that it gets to be there as your support through all these different seasons.
Oh, I love it. That is so beautiful. Yes, I agree 100%. I can't see how anyone doesn't want to be reaching for their art journal right now, right? And just putting it all out there.
Yeah, I feel like
So
we
I
need
think,
to be doing that.
yes, absolutely. We need to be doing it as often as possible. So I think what you were talking about now too, right? It comes back to that openness, to being
Mhm.
open to allowing yourself to feel the feelings and to just, as you were saying, it might look different. So allowing it to just be what it is and just following the little breadcrumbs that your creative inspiration is leaving you. Maybe it is, as you were saying, like just painting a page black. Maybe it is just putting some words on a page, and those are all valid. So I don't think that people need to feel like, especially when you're new, right? You think it has to be this complete journal page with all these like different steps, some magical steps that you haven't worked out yet. But just being open to say, this is what I feel is all I need, or I need more, and just following that process is really important.
Oh, like so much that I remember I interviewed one of the first messy conversations. I interviewed Kate Sherwood, who, oh my goodness, I'm so excited because she's teaching next year after like 9 years. I think she taught previously 9 years ago for Get Messy. Kate Sherwood is like my all-time favorite artist. To me, she is a capital A artist. She like lives on a farm, like very free. She has curly hair. She is painting abstract things. Anyway, so in my official definition of an artist, that's
Mhm.
Kate. Or my like previously, because now I know my definition is just people who make art. Anyway, Kate is my, I don't like, yeah. I love her and I look up to her. And I remember talking to her about the idea of an unfinished journal. And that feeling that you have maybe when you're halfway through a journal and you just don't want to continue. You're just like so done with it. You can't anymore. And so I spoke to her about it, and she's like, "Oh, I've got lots of unfinished journals on my shelf. None of them is actually unfinished. They're all finished. Like when you decide that you're finished with your journal, you're done with it. Like that's totally fine. You're allowed to keep blank pages in your journal. Not every page has to be filled completely." That was a very freeing realization when Kate kind of gave permission. When you're finished with the journal, you can be finished. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be filled to completion. It's your decision,
Yeah.
and you can come back to it at a later stage. You know, maybe the journey comes back to you. It's a bit like therapy. You think that you're done with something, and then years later, you realize you're not.
Oh, I love that. That is so true, right? I think because a lot of us have got this thing about I've heard some people saying like, I'm going to pack all the unfinished journals on the shelf so that I know which ones I need to work in so that they can be finished. So the unfinished journal is definitely a theme that everybody wrestles with.
Do you know that? So when I was unpacking my studio now, I had a few journals that hadn't been started or that had a few pages done in them. And I don't know what it is with me. I hate them. Like I hate them. I've tried keeping them on a shelf and that makes me want to use them less. I've kept them in a box and then I forget about it. So I
So you
threw
burnt
them
them.
all out. I did. No, I threw them in the bin.
Awesome. Well done. I'm so proud of you.
They're gone.
I love that because I hate keeping things that make me feel bad about myself. That is one of my number one rules. So if I have a page in my journal that I don't like, I won't even gesso over it because I feel like I'm just like sealing that negative energy into it. And I feel like no matter what I put on top of it, I'm not going to love it either because I know what's underneath. It's like those drawers. If you open my drawer, it has to be neat. Even if nobody's going to see it, I can't have it untidy. So my journal's the same. So I will tear the page out, tear it out, throw it away. Don't keep things that make you feel bad about yourself. Life has got so much that is already like making you worry about, what does my hair look like? And I'm getting wrinkles, or is the makeup smudged today? Or, like there's so much that you already have to worry about. You really don't need to keep those pages that make you feel bad, or the journals that make you think, oh my word, I started it, never finished it. And now, like, what am I going to do with it? And throw it away, get rid of it, start over. You can always make another journal.
Yeah. Claudette and I are big fans of pruning and of like cutting
Yes.
the things that are not serving us. I think that's like my number one tip for journaling is to make it exciting for you and make your art journaling practice delicious. If you've got journals on your shelf that make you feel bad, you don't need that. There's rest of the life to make you feel bad. Make only use supplies that you love. Only use the images that you love. Only take inspiration and fill your cup from other artists that you love.
Yes, absolutely. Only do it if it makes you excited and happy and wanting to reach for it, right? How often have you heard someone saying, I need to change, I need to stop using purple and yellow because it's the only color I use? I say to them, use it until you don't want to use it anymore. If those are the only two colors you work in for the rest of your life, it's fine. If they're making you happy and they're the ones that you want, why do you feel like now you need to go and add green because it has to be different every time? If those are the things you love, stick with them. So it's good. It's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone when you need to. but do the things that make you happy too.
Oh,
Mm.
so good. Okay. Well, I think that's a good place for us to stop. Um, and I mean, with the end of this episode, that's another torch passing, brush passing. I'm so excited for all the artists that you're going to interview, Claudette, and I'm so excited to learn from them, to have you leading the way, following your own curiosity and allowing us to join that journey. I'm excited.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I'm really excited for the episodes that are coming and for the artists that you're going to hear from. And thank you, Caylee, for giving me an opportunity to be able to do this. It has been such a pleasure. And I have had so much growth in the insights that I've had through chatting to the different artists. And so I'm excited for everyone that's going to be listening, because I know that they are going to find little nuggets that they're going to want to put in that little backpack of creative wisdom and take it along with them as they continue growing as artists.
Ooh, sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks for leading the way.
Oh, thanks, Caylee.
Gotta get messy and show the world you growing as an artist. And you're free to be yourself. You got a dream, you need to start it. Stick together. Get messy says you're formally invited to a community where you can find people that spark the field of excitement. Too many art supplies, not enough time. No, it's tough, and so you must find a way to feel some connection. We got a lot of people with the same kind, a great mind. We here for you, a platform so we can hear your views. Time's yours, forget chores. I know you bored of them same rules.